What's the main organ of digestion? It's the pancreas. Most people think that all of their digestion happens in the stomach, but it is not true.
This is Barbara O'Neill, a famous health expert known worldwide. She strongly supports holistic and natural health, with many testimonials backing her methods. Today, let's take a closer look at the pancreas, a key player in digestion and blood sugar control, which becomes even more critical as we age. Positioned behind the stomach, it produces essential enzymes for breaking down food and releases hormones like insulin to regulate blood sugar levels. As we grow older, the pancreas may encounter difficulties, raising the risk of conditions such as diabetes or pancreatitis. However, by making smart dietary choices, adopting healthy habits, and scheduling regular checkups, we can support its function. Stick around to discover effective ways to keep your pancreas in top shape.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about your pancreas. Your pancreas lives under your left rib, and your pancreas controls your blood glucose levels. And when the pancreas is not working well, then a person will possibly be diagnosed with a condition called diabetes. In Australia, there are about 300 or 400 new diabetics diagnosed every day. A lot of diabetes. And America, is it so in Bermuda? Yes. And as I've already looked at this week, the curse causeless does not come. That's Proverbs 22 verse 2. There's always a reason. Even medicine acknowledges that diabetes is a lifestyle complaint or condition. In fact, in Hippocrates' writings, that's 400 years BC, there was no mention of diabetes. So what is causing diabetes? Now, most people are fairly aware that sugar's got a big contributing factor. Is that right? It certainly does. What I'd like to do, I'd like to go with the Proverbs 14 verse 6 that says, knowledge is easy to him that understands. And I'd like to have a look at how the body deals with the glucose that gets into the blood. Now,
when we eat, especially carbs, they break down into glucose, which enters the bloodstream. The pancreas produces insulin to move glucose into cells for energy. If the pancreas can't produce enough insulin, or if cells become resistant, glucose accumulates in the blood, causing high sugar levels. Excess sugar intake strains the pancreas and leads to insulin resistance. However, refined carbs, unhealthy fats, processed foods, lack of exercise, stress, and poor sleep also play major roles in the development of diabetes.
Notice we've got the liver here, the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a reservoir for bile, and that bile duct comes down, connects with the neck of the pancreas and empties into the duodenum. It's an alkaline environment in the duodenum. And the enzyme that is released from your gallbladder, so I'll just do GB for gallbladder, from the duodenum, is bile. And bile is an enzyme that breaks down long-chain fatty acids, so this is your unsaturated fats. So a lot of those fats are vegetable fats, found in your nuts and your seeds. From the duodenum, the pancreas also releases some enzymes in there. And the pancreas releases pancreatic lipase. And pancreatic lipase does the final breakdown of the unsaturated fats. They're the long-chain fatty acids. So bile starts it, pancreatic lipase finalizes it. The pancreas also releases pancreatic amylase. And remember, ptyalin is a salivary amylase, so the amylase salivary amylase ptyalase starts the digestion, put on hold in the stomach, comes to the duodenum, and pancreatic amylase finalizes the starch digestion. What's also released in the pancreas is trypsin. And trypsin is the enzyme that finalises protein digestion. So protein digestion is begun in the stomach and finalised in the duodenum under trypsin and chymotrypsin. So these are two enzymes that break down protein. I've got some good news. It's going to get easier now. They're all the big words. From this, students, what's the main organ of digestion? It's the pancreas. Most people think that all of their digestion happens in the stomach, but it is not true. Now, one of the great things about saturated fat, it does not need bile. It does not need pancreatic lipase because the breakdown began in the mouth. So people with liver, gallbladder problems, pancreatic problems, what's the best fat for them? Coconut, yeah. Coconut. It's very easy to digest.
Digestion starts in the stomach, but it's the pancreas that completes the process. This vital organ breaks down fats, proteins, and starches, while also controlling blood sugar through insulin production. If you have liver, gallbladder, or pancreatic concerns, opting for fats that are easier to digest can be helpful. Coconut oil is a great example. It's a saturated fat that's easy on the digestive system because it doesn't need bile to break down. This makes it an ideal choice for those looking to support their digestive health.
So let's have a look at this pancreas. We're going to put our pancreas here. Here's pancreas. Now the pancreas, there's the big P, it releases insulin. And as I just showed you, insulin unlocks the door to get the glucose inside the cell. You see, when blood glucose levels are high, then high insulin's released. And what the insulin does is it gets the glucose out of the blood and into the energy pathway, or storing here or storing as there. In fact, insulin's got a one-set mind. I must store, I must store, I must store. So a lot of people with diabetes, you'll find they're carrying excess weight. Because what's their brain doing? Through the insulin, I must store. You see that? Now there's another hormone that the pancreas releases, and it's glucagon. Now what insulin does, it gets the blood sugar level down, as I've just shown you. But if blood glucose levels go too low, glucagon's released and it gets blood sugar levels up. So can you see the pancreas releases these two main hormones that are designed to keep that blood sugar as it should be. But what's happening on this high carbohydrate diet? Huge amounts of glucose are being released, come to the cell, and something starts to develop. It's called insulin resistance. Have you heard of it? Basically, the cell wall says, I'm sick of the sight of you. I'm sick of the sight of you. So it starts to resist. And the glucose is still in the blood. And the brain's going, oh dear, quick pancreas, more insulin, more insulin, more insulin. But what's the problem? It's not lack of insulin, it's actually insulin resistant. And so eventually the pancreas just says, I'm done with this. I've had enough. I'm worn out. So it's not long after insulin resistance that diabetes happens. Diabetes mellitus simply means sugar in the urine. Because if the glucose can't get into the blood, then it has to spill out into the urine. Can you see that? Do you know the first documented cases of diabetes mellitus was just before the Black Plague in London. And you know what this doctor discovered? That it was only his wealthy patients that it was happening to, because it's only the wealthy that could afford to eat sugar. You see, what sugar does, Aha, we've got a red tonight. Yeah, you're still royal, but we're red. So blood glucose levels go up dramatically. Dramatically. When these go in. You see, high glucose demands high insulin. So what happens is, because so much insulin's released, where's blood glucose levels going now? Too low. This is called hypoglycemia. And what does the person do down there? Oh, we'll have a candy, we'll have a Mars bar, we'll have a cup of coffee with 3 teaspoons of sugar. Will that get it up? Oh, yes. Oh, no, we're too high. Stop the glucagon, release the insulin. Oh, no, can you see what's happening here? Crisis, 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 crisis. We had the CEO of one of the big sugar mills in Australia come and do our program. He told me there's 15 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of Coke. Do you know how much sugar cane is required for 1 teaspoon? About 1 metre. Have you ever eaten sugar cane? How long does it take to get through 2 inches? How long would it take to get through 15 metres? In other words, a can of Coke should take you about the time to drink as it takes to eat 15 metres. You see where it's just overload.
Excessive sugar intake forces the pancreas to work harder, producing more insulin to manage blood sugar. Over time, this strain weakens the pancreas, impairing its ability to regulate glucose, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. Either the body becomes resistant to insulin or the pancreas struggles to meet demand. A balanced diet rich in whole foods like vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains helps manage blood sugar and reduces strain on the pancreas. Regular exercise also boosts insulin sensitivity, supporting overall health and reducing the risk of diabetes complications.
Caffeine. Oh, yes, there it is. Do you know caffeine causes the pancreas to release, it actually causes the pancreas to release glucagon, because when a person has a cup of coffee, their body thinks there's a crisis. That's why you actually get a little bit of a lift. The body thinks there's a crisis. And so in a crisis, it's got to have more glucose. So can you see that is released to release that to give some more glucose. So what happens is the pancreas gets this response, and then it goes too high, and then the insulin's released. My husband and I were having a holiday in a resort in Australia, and we're down there for breakfast, having our breakfast, and at the table just near me, there was a gentleman and his wife. They looked like they were in their 70s, and they both had a bowl of cereal with milk, and they opened a packet and put sugar all over the top, and then they had a slice of white bread with margarine, because they want to be healthy, and jam, and and a glass of orange juice and a cup of coffee. Now, is that a typical breakfast? And just before he began to eat, he opened a little black bag, got out a little injection, lifted up his shirt and injected himself. What's that? Insulin. Now, can I run over and say, stop, I know how you can overcome this? Can I do that? Sure. No, they probably call the police on me. Harassment. And they have no right to go to my table and say, you're eating too much pawpaw and pineapple there. I just hope and pray that he might stumble across my lecture on YouTube called Decoding Diabetes. See, the only hope of better things is the education of people in the right principles. They don't know. And of course, if I say, all that's giving you diabetes, what's the next question? Well, what are we going to eat? Because We go to Fiji sometimes, maybe we'll have a holiday there. Fiji, with their beautiful cassavas and coconuts, all that beautiful food, and you know what they've got in the restaurant? Cereal, bread. Because that's what all the Aussies want. Now, there is a little tray of pawpaw and pineapple, and after we've been there a few breakfasts, they get bigger and bigger, because we just about eat it all. So caffeine also must stop. Are you told this by the nutritionists if you have diabetes? And why is that? Because they're drinking coffee. I used to be a psych nurse. They're all drinking it. So how come they don't have mental illness or diabetes? Guess what? They do. They do. So all of these things add to it. What about margarine? What margarine does, well, it's an altered fat, and it begins blocking the receptor sites on the cell for insulin. In fact, margarine is so toxic, it's one molecular structure short of plastic. So if you're going to eat margarine, you should eat the container it comes in. It's a saturated fat. If it was polyunsaturated, you'd open the lid and it'd all move, all be liquid. You see that?
Caffeine can be a concern for many, especially for those with diabetes. Nutritionists frequently recommend that individuals with diabetes steer clear of coffee. Barbara, who has experience as a psychiatric nurse, observed that while many patients enjoyed coffee, diabetes wasn't always a common issue among them, despite their mental health challenges. These various elements play a role in overall well-being. Another topic of concern is margarine, which is a processed fat that can interfere with insulin receptor sites on cells. In fact, margarine is so chemically modified that it is just one molecular change away from being plastic. If you choose to consume margarine, you might as well consider eating the container it comes in. Margarine is classified as a saturated fat. If it were polyunsaturated, it would remain in a liquid state. Educating individuals about these health risks and promoting healthier dietary options can greatly aid in managing and preventing diabetes. Barbara often recommends replacing margarine with healthier fats like olive oil or avocado, which can enhance cellular function. And that's it again for today, guys. Thanks for joining us today as we uncovered the important role the pancreas plays in maintaining our health. Keeping your pancreas healthy is crucial, especially as we age. Small changes, like adopting a balanced diet, staying physically active, and staying hydrated, can have a big impact on supporting its function and overall wellness. If you have any questions or need further advice, please drop them in the comments below. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more valuable health tips, and explore our other videos for more ways to enhance your wellness journey. And as always, stay informed, stay healthy.